You finally get the job you wanted, the relationship that feels right, the version of your life you used to dream about, and then quietly, without deciding to, you start pulling away from it. You stop replying as fast, you pick a fight over nothing, you miss the deadline you didn't need to miss. You may think you don't actually want this thing anymore, but the real answer is far stranger. Your brain isn't trying to destroy your success. It's trying to protect you from something it fears more than failure: losing something good. Psychologists call this self-sabotage, but that word makes it sound like a flaw. It isn't. It's a strategy, an old one, built long before you had the life you have now. Here's the part most people never learn. Your nervous system doesn't actually care about happiness. It cares about safety. And to a brain wired for survival, the unfamiliar is never safe, even when the unfamiliar is good. Psychologist Abraham Maslow noticed something strange while studying people who seemed to be thriving. He called it the Jonah complex, named after the biblical figure who ran from his own destiny. Maslow found that people don't just fear failing. They fear their own greatness. They fear the responsibility, the visibility, the pressure of becoming who they're capable of becoming. Think about that for a second. You're not just afraid of losing what's good. You're afraid of what happens after you keep it. This is where your brain's prediction system comes in. Neuroscientist Karl Friston describes the brain as a prediction machine. It isn't built to make you happy. It's built to make the world predictable. Every experience you've ever had gets compressed into a kind of internal model, a story about what kind of life makes sense for someone like you. If you grew up believing love was conditional, stability will feel suspicious. If you grew up believing you had to earn every good thing twice, ease will feel like a trap. Your brain isn't asking, "Is this good?" It's asking, "Does this match what I already expect?" And when reality drifts too far from that internal model, your brain doesn't celebrate. It corrects. It pulls you back toward the familiar, even if the familiar was painful, even if the familiar was lonely, even if the familiar nearly broke you. This is why people in healthy relationships sometimes start a fight for no reason. Why someone on the edge of a promotion suddenly stops showing up on time. Why a person finally getting their life together cancels the one plan that mattered. It isn't weakness. It's a nervous system trying to return to a baseline it recognizes, even when that baseline was never actually safe to begin with. There's a name for this pullback to the familiar. Psychologists call it homeostatic emotional regulation, but you can think of it more simply. Your brain has a thermostat, not for temperature, but for how much good it believes you're allowed to have. Set that thermostat too low growing up, and anything above it will eventually get pulled back down, not because you don't want it, because your system doesn't yet believe it's yours to keep. Consider what this thermostat actually tracks. It isn't tracking your circumstances, it's tracking your history. Every time something good happened and was later taken away, every time comfort was followed by disappointment, your brain logged it, not as a memory you can recall on command, but as a setting, a baseline expectation about how much good is sustainable before it collapses. This is why two people can receive the exact same promotion and react completely differently. One feels steady, energized, ready to grow into the role. The other feels a low hum of dread underneath the celebration, a sense that this is somehow too good, that the other shoe is about to drop. The external event is identical. The internal thermostat is not. In the 1990s, researchers studying identity consistency made a discovery that explains this perfectly. People aren't actually motivated to feel good. They're motivated to feel like themselves. Psychologist William Swann called this self-verification theory. His studies found that people will unconsciously seek out situations, relationships, and outcomes that confirm what they already believe about who they are, even when those beliefs are negative. If part of you believes you're someone things don't work out for, your brain will quietly engineer situations that prove it right, not out of self-hatred, out of consistency. Being wrong about yourself feels more dangerous to your brain than being unhappy. That's worth sitting with. Your brain would rather you be unhappy and right about who you are than happy and uncertain. Swann's research went further than theory. In controlled experiments, he found that people with negative self-views would actually choose to interact with someone who criticized them over someone who praised them, even when the praise was accurate and the criticism wasn't. Being affirmed felt wrong. Being confirmed, even painfully, felt like home. Now apply that to your own life. If somewhere along the way you absorb the belief that you're too much or not enough, or destined to lose what you love, then praise, ease, and stability won't feel like relief. They'll feel like a mismatch your brain is quietly trying to resolve. And the fastest way to resolve a mismatch is to make the outside world match the inside story again. So what does this actually look like in real life? It rarely looks like sabotage. It looks like sudden exhaustion, right when things are going well. It looks like picking apart a partner's small flaws the moment the relationship starts to feel secure. It looks like getting bored, restless, or strangely irritable the week after good news. You don't experience it as fear. You experience it as a feeling that something is off, a subtle itch to create distance, conflict, or chaos. Your conscious mind doesn't even register the connection. It just feels like a mood, a reason to pull back, a reason this probably wouldn't have worked anyway. But underneath that mood is a very old question your nervous system keeps asking. Is this safe to keep? And if your history never gave it a clear yes, it defaults to no. Here's the twist almost nobody expects. The people most likely to self-sabotage aren't the ones who don't believe in themselves. They're often the ones who believe in themselves the least, specifically when things are going right. Psychologist Carol Dweck's research on self-concept found that people don't just hold beliefs about their abilities. They hold beliefs about how much good they're allowed to receive before something corrects it. She called this an implicit theory of deservingness, and it operates almost entirely outside conscious awareness. This means you can want something deeply and still feel a quiet relief when it falls apart. Not because you wanted it to fail, because the falling apart felt like familiar ground. Predictable, survivable, known. Now here's where it gets even stranger. This pattern doesn't just apply to relationships and careers, it applies to comfort itself. Studies on emotional regulation have found that people who grew up in chaotic or high-stress environments often report feeling anxious during calm periods, not despite the calm, but because of it. Silence after stress can feel like the moment before something bad happens, because for years it was. So your brain learns to treat peace as a warning sign instead of a reward. You start manufacturing small problems just to give your nervous system something familiar to respond to. This is why some people feel more at ease during a crisis than during stability. Crisis has a script. Stability doesn't, not yet. There's a modern version of this pattern that's easy to miss. Scroll through social media for a few minutes and notice what happens the moment you see someone else's good news. A new house, a new relationship, a new milestone. For a flicker of a second, before you can name it, something in you tightens. Not jealousy exactly, something closer to alarm. That alarm is the same thermostat at work, just triggered by someone else's life instead of your own. Watching other people hold on to good things activates the same internal question. Is this allowed? Is this safe to have? And if your own answer has historically been no, watching someone else say yes can feel almost threatening, even when you genuinely want them to be happy. This is part of why comparison feels so exhausting today. It isn't just about envy. It's your nervous system recalibrating its sense of what's possible over and over, dozens of times a day, every time someone else's good fortune scrolls past. So how does any of this change? Not by trying harder to be happy, not by forcing gratitude or willpower. Real change starts the moment you notice the pattern instead of obeying it. The instant you feel that pull to create distance from something good, that's not proof it's wrong. That's your old internal model reacting to something new. The discomfort isn't a signal to retreat. It's a signal that your nervous system is updating, slowly. And updating feels exactly like danger before it feels like growth. Every time you stay instead of pulling away, every time you let something good remain good without finding a reason to ruin it, you're not fighting your brain. You're retraining it. You're teaching your internal model a new baseline, one where stability doesn't have to be earned through suffering, one where being seen doesn't have to be punished, one where good things are allowed to simply continue. This retraining is slow, and it rarely feels dramatic. It looks like noticing the urge to start an argument and choosing to ask what you're actually afraid of instead. It looks like catching yourself making excuses to avoid a celebration and showing up anyway. It looks like sitting in a quiet, good moment without scanning for the thing that's about to go wrong. None of this requires you to silence the part of you that pulls away. That part isn't your enemy. It built itself out of real experience, trying to keep you safe the only way it knew how. The goal isn't to delete it. The goal is to let it speak without letting it drive. Over time, with enough repetition, your internal model updates, not because you forced positivity onto it, but because you gave it new evidence. Evidence that good things can last. Evidence that you can be visible without being punished for it. Evidence that the thermostat can be reset. You finally get the life you wanted. And this time, instead of waiting for the part of you that pulls away, you notice it, you name it, and you stay anyway.